In the beginning, there was the earth, and man. He led a boring life, eating, drinking, sleeping. His only form of pleasure came from fighting his enemies. Of course, this passive form of fighting was very limited. And he found out what that something was quite by accident. He needed to destroy his enemy. After some unsuccessful tries, man realized nature wasn't to be trusted. So he set about devising more certain ways to dispose of his enemy. It was man's first victory. However, he wasn't to go unchallenged forever. The other side soon caught on, and the race for supremacy had started. The club had been man's greatest achievement to date, and through the ages it developed from a round, cumbersome lump of wood to a sleek, sharp blade of steel, now called the sword. The sword had many uses, but still its main purpose was to destroy the enemy. And it worked remarkably well, apart from a few bugs here and there. Man still wanted to destroy his enemy, but he wished to do it from a safe distance. So he invented the bow and arrow. This incredible invention allowed for safe distance fighting. However, after a few battles, it was noticed that the bow and arrow wasn't getting the results that had been hoped for.
Did we get them? I'll have a look.
No, not many. The bow and arrow turned out to be something of a mixed blessing. While man was safe behind his walls, so too was his enemy. Something was needed to bring down the barriers. The club made no impression whatsoever. Neither did the sword or the bow and arrow. Then someone thought of a brilliant device. And he called it the cannon. The first tests were rather disappointing. But as it became more powerful, it made a bigger impression on the enemy. However, the cannon relied solely on hitting the enemy, and if he was nimble-footed, he could easily foil an attack. Well, most of the time. Another unfortunate point was that cannonballs were recyclable.
We're out of cannonballs. Oh no! Fire!
To solve these new problems, man's greatest inventors set to work to discover a new wonder weapon. And finally, they delivered the goods. They had invented The bomb. It was no longer necessary to hit the enemy directly. A few people devised refinements on the principle of the bomb, one of the most exotic being the machine gun. Most of the time, these gimmicks were quite unsuccessful. The bomb still reigned supreme. Man began to experiment with its uses. He found he could destroy his distant enemies by loading bombs into planes. This, however, took him outside the safety of his own territory. A few variations were tried, like pilotless planes. But these proved to be failures. However, with the emergence of the space age, man discovered that bombs could be loaded into his latest invention, the rocket. Bombs were flying thicker and faster than ever before. Man had finally reached the ultimate in civilization. You have amazed me. Now let's start again. In the beginning, there was the earth, and man. He led a boring life, eating, drinking, sleeping. Man felt something was missing, and he found out what that something was quite by accident. His only form of pleasure came from fighting his enemy. He needed to destroy his enemy. However, he wasn't to go unchallenged. The other side soon caught on, and the race for supremacy had started. The club had been man's greatest achievement to date, and through the ages it developed from a round, cumbersome lump of wood to a split, sharp blade of steel, now called the sword. The sword had many uses, but still its main purpose was to destroy the enemy, and it worked remarkably well, apart from a few bugs here and there. So he invented the bow and arrow. Man still wanted to destroy his enemy, but he wished to do it from a safe distance. This incredible invention allowed for safe distance fighting. This incredible invention allowed for